Welcome, welcome, welcome. Another good day in the neighborhood. How you doing back there, Johnny?
Doing okay, enjoying the weather. It's great.
Oh,
well, not in here, but
the
we know
weather
it's out there
is
waiting for us.
great. I can't believe it's almost suntan weather. So today I have with me, my guest is Ms. Karen Adams, and she has a group called Message and a Meal. And when I hear that, it sounds sort of like a spiritual thing. It's like a message and a meal.
And you're exactly correct on that note.
It does. I just told John, I said, sounds like a praise thing, you know?
Okay.
So tell us about, first want to welcome you, first time on the Flaminpit Show. And I kept saying, want to make sure I say Adams versus Allen. I kept calling you Karen Allen. And I don't even know where that came from. I told John, I said, please let me say her last name right. I'm always like practicing ahead of time. But welcome to the show, and let's talk about this message and a meal. I found you on Facebook, and when I saw the topic, I figured that has to be something great going on. So tell me exactly what Message and a Meal is.
Well, first of all, Message and a Meal is a nonprofit, faith-based Christian organization situated right here in Genesee County. And we are about 7 or 8 years old. And our main focus when we first started was dealing with persons that was in transition, experiencing temporary hardships, whether they needed food, clothing, shelter, whatever it took to get them back on their feet. Mm-hmm. Then when doing this program, it opened up the doors for some other needs that we saw that needed to be met. So we kind of branched off, and so in addition to homelessness and at-risk youth, we're dealing with domestic violence victims, bullying. So we started some programs to address those issues in Genesee County. And hopefully, as we bring more volunteers and people on board, we'll be able to make a major impact with some of these areas that people are struggling with in our Flint area and some of the other surrounding areas.
Mm-hmm. So now you say you've been in around for like 6 or 7 years. And you haven't had the volunteers to help, or has it just been slow moving? Or
well, we've when we initially started, our main attention was during the winter months when it was cold out, and people would really need support as far as finding places to stay, food. So we're just trying to be a support system. So we would provide free meals for them. I had a hall on Richfield Road, and we would come in and would do annual feeding. And during the Thanksgiving and Christmas months, we would have a big dinner for them, and we invite groups in, like from Community Mental Health, My Brother's Keeper. At that time, Olive Branch Mission was open, and they would come in, and some of those people, we do a whole program. Oh, okay. And some of those people were not used to having a sit-down dinner that was nice. They might have a sack lunch or something handed to them. But we took it up a notch, and we actually did the linen, the real dishes, silverware, and presented them with a traditional holiday dinner, and gave them things to take back. And that was just, it was free, and it was open to anybody who wanted to come. And we had a lot of seniors that came in as well. And then different ones would come in and do encouraging things, like in the form of praise ministry. Ministers would come in and do a short sermon, letting them know that no matter where they were in life, that there's always a helping hand if they have a desire to succeed or to improve where they are. Then somebody was going to be there, stand in the gap to help them get there. Right. And so that's basically what Message and Meal is about. People always ask me, what is the message? And
that's why I said it sounds like it's spiritual.
And it is it's spiritual. When God gave that to me, I've always been in food service and always helping people. But one day, after working from Carystown in the North Soup Kitchen Transition House, I started seeing that many of those individuals, they would go through those systems, get the help, but year after year, you got the same faces. So it's like a light bulb popped on and said, you know what? They're getting their needs met as far as their daily needs, as far as of food, but there's no change. They're still using these systems to make it from day to day. So what is it that could be done to make them want to say, you know what, I want to rise up and do a little bit more and not rely on those systems and try to make a difference in my life if I had the right things, tools in place to succeed.
Right.
And so that name, Message in a Meal, it's one of Jesus's miracles that he performed, where he fed the 5,000 people as a Sermon on the Mount. And you can find it in Matthew.
Right, right.
And he took 5 loaves of bread, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and he fed the multitudes. And so that's kind of what I did, because I was always in food service, and we were always taking a little bit and stretching it and making it do more, and we never would run out. And I was always like, wow, how did we accomplish
How
that?
did we do that?
And we always had just enough. And so from there, I set that as like our little motto. And when people are in situations, sometimes they don't think they have enough to make it. But if they just look around, everything that they need to succeed is within them. So if they take whatever they have and just start moving in that right direction, they can accomplish great things. And so that's, that's
your message.
That's my message in a meal. And it doesn't matter where you are. It might be your food. It might be you're going through a divorce. You're going through situations at home. If you're a young person, if you're dealing with bullying, if all those things that are negative can be turned into a positive, and you can use those struggles as a method to jumpstart you and get you to going in the right direction.
Right, right. So now, do you have counseling services and people that handle all that versus just the meal side of it?
Yes, we have about 4 or 5 different people, and even some on our board that actually work in outreach ministries, and they are counselors themselves. So they deal with people that's dealing with addictive behaviors, and they know exactly how to address those needs. So we both have them spiritual, and then we have the non-secular, that's their normal traditional job.
Right.
So once we sit down and find out what that person needs, then we know where to send them elsewhere in the community, and to get what they need to keep going. We don't have all the answers, but we don't want to turn anyone away, and so we're constantly doing research and reading up on different situations to find out new opportunities that's out there that's available to these individuals, where they can get the help that they need.
Now, the one thing I see with that is, with the title being Message in a Meal, you pretty much just think of maybe food, you're going to go there and just get a free meal. How do people know about all the other services that you have to offer?
Well, we're constantly out in the community doing outreach. People invite us, such as yourself, to come on radio talk shows. We do a lot of expos and networking trade shows, so we're constantly communicating the message. And in addition to that, we have our website, and we can always direct people there, and it fully explains each of the things that we do, which is messageinameal.org. And they can call us at any time or email us, and that's basically that in a nutshell, how we get the message out. And it's word of mouth.
Right.
And we do a lot of fundraising, which helps us well. We just got through with a Founders Ball, which was on April 13th of this year, and that was done at the Z Club here in Genesee County. And we had many people that were, the focus of that was domestic violence, and trying to bring more awareness, and the fact that in Genesee County, the rate for domestic violence has accelerated, as well as some other things. And we kind of think that's because of our poor economic situation, and people are stressed. And when they're in that kind of situation, they might cause them to act out in ways that are not too productive. And so we're trying to show people alternatives. Think before you react.
Right.
And think about the consequences.
Think the consequences.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's always a better way to do things, and get some help. And if you just work with different people, then you can proceed in your life or in your families, and you'll have good success.
Yeah. Because when you start talking about domestic violence, a lot of it is overreaction.
Yes.
People just snap. And that's the answer. Why you do that? I just snapped. You're like, what does snap mean? It means you get ready to go to jail.
Yes.
And it's a sad situation, because it is so much out there, and then a lot of it is hidden. People don't talk about it. So it's good that that's part of your program, along with mental health, because I think sometimes those go hand in hand. It just depends. Like if you have people that's been in the military and they have PTSD, and a lot of that can go right over to domestic violence. Cause,
yes, it can.
And that's a strange disorder too to understand. And if you have counselors and everything like that, and you have people that are willing to come in and use that service. Where I volunteer on Fridays at Christ in Richmond, they had a counselor there from the Veterans Administration, and that's one of the places where you see a lot of PTSD people coming in. So have you run across a number of people that are suffering from that disorder, and you guys are able to help them, or is this you have to refer them somewhere else?
Well, we can always sit down and always suggest that when people are going through things, if they could vent and get it out, don't keep it bottled in, and write it down so they can actually, when you write things down, it kind of makes it crystal clear, like, okay, am I doing this? And what can I do to change this behavior, and make a list of the negatives and the positives, and then come up with some kind of method. So we started them talking and get them around other people who are like them, so that way they don't feel like they're all in that alone.
Right.
And from there, they kind of loosen up and they're willing, because they don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
They just don't know any other way to act. Something like you said, they shut down mentally, or they fear, or they're not being understood.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors involved in what causes people to do the things that they do. But once you lay all those cards out on the table, and you start attacking each one on one, and then they can see the progress.
Yeah.
Then they can see where they can go from point A to point B, then they can just keep improving. They're willing to do that, because no one wants to be mad all the time.
You would think not.
No, they don't. They're not happy like that.
That's a lot of wasted energy. I mean, so now when you talk about the food, where people, you go and set up these events where people can actually come in and eat. So who prepares that? Where do you get the food?
Well, I am also a licensed caterer. I've been in food service since 1980.
So you cook the food?
So I can cook the food.
Snap.
I know several people that are in food service. I have a son that's, for our last event, he owns King Vic's All-American Takeout. So he came in and he did all the food. I have a daughter and her son that does fruit carving. So when we do things, we want the events not to look like it's a charity event, or make the people feel like they're
like a slop kitchen.
Yeah. No, so we try to make it look like it's a nice event, make them feel comfortable. And then we bring in people who have dealt with issues that they're involved in, and they know how to say it in a manner that's effective. And they really, really appreciate that. I get so many thank you cards, and especially during Thanksgiving and Christmas when we do that. And we've done this for, like I said, about 7 or 8 years. And then we even added on some more. We kind of partner with Art Winslow with the International Academy. So we go over there on Thanksgiving Day. And I think for the last couple of years, he served over 700 people.
Yeah.
And what they do is divide it up amongst the ones that want to volunteer. So sometimes I get stuck with doing the cakes or doing the meats. And then we go over there and we package things up, and they do food giveaways. And the MTA bus company, they come in and trans people over, and they do like 3 feedings. So I did that a couple of times, and it's been ongoing in addition to what we do too.
Yeah.
And then this year we added, we went down to North Soup Kitchen, and me and some more caterer friends that have their own businesses, and we actually went and purchased all the foods ourselves, and we baked homemade goodies, and so that they had a nice healthy holiday meal too. So that was good.
And then when you talk about eating off a real plate, that makes a difference because
real plate, dishes, glasses, all that stuff.
The plastic forks just don't cut it when you're trying to have a real meal.
Yes.
Those things just don't go together. So now, what kind of qualifications would people need in order to get in this program? First of all, to qualify to get a meal, and then just to come in and get services that you offer.
They just have to have a need. That's all.
They just have to know where you located.
Where we're located, come in, sit down. Sometimes we have people that's in crisis situations where, we have to really think fast and like, okay, who can address that? As I remember, year before last, I had a young lady that was in a domestic violence situation. She was from Florida, and she was a registered nurse. And she had to flee there in a hurry with her and her dog. And she came here, and she was actually living in her car at one of the Walmarts. And, that she couldn't do that. And she came and she shared that. And I said, God, you can't keep doing this. You got to get some help. So I called, I gave her a bunch of numbers to call, and she ended up calling the Red Cross. And they did not know that it was so difficult to get people that were dealing with domestic violence help. Because like here in Genesee County, we only have the YWCA.
Right.
They only have 35 beds, and guess what? They're full.
They're full all the time.
And so what we ended up having to do with this young lady is they put her up in a hotel for a whole week. And she, even though she was educated and she was a licensed RN, she didn't have the monies on her to pay to get licensed for the state of Michigan.
Right.
So she didn't need a whole lot of help. She just needed a little bit. But if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Right.
So through that experience, for her just sharing it, and me sending her to those places, she was able to get back on her feet. And then she came back and she helped volunteer and participate because she really appreciated that.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. And you always you scared for people like that. Like you said, you're living in your car and you don't know where the next meal's come from. You got to keep moving around. They're going to come out there and knock on the window like, you got to move out of here. You got to go down to the next place, and then all the way from Florida.
All the way from Florida. And she's a female and she had a dog, and nobody wanted her to really come in with the dog. And so when you see those stories, hear those stories, it makes you want to just dig in and just do more. But a lot of us every day, when we have all our ducks in right order, we don't have to worry about our food, clothing, shelter. We have all our little toys and trinkets to make us happy.
Right.
We really don't pay attention to really know what individuals that's suffering are going through unless we actually see firsthand.
Right.
And so I used to be like that. And so when I start going down to Carriagetown, Transition House, and those places, I learned what it was to walk in those people's shoes.
Yeah, I like volunteering too, because you never know what people's needs are. And like I volunteer before at the church at a food giveaway, and I see the same faces every week, and they all know me, and it's a nice, friendly environment. But there's a need. I mean, we serve over 130 people each week. And sometime 140, 150 if we do it over, like Thanksgiving and Christmas. And to me, I'll be looking forward to 100 every week. I'm like, what's the number? What's the number? And when they get to 100, I'm like jumping for joy because we're helping 100 people. And I mean, people don't appreciate a lot of stuff. They take a lot of stuff for granted until they actually get in that situation. It's like when GM moved up out of here, and it threw a lot of people in tailspin because that's all they knew. They made all that money, but they didn't save any of it. And then it was like, now what am I going to do? And if you've never done anything else but that, you're in a lot of trouble.
That's true.
And a lot of them have so much pride, they don't want to come to the food giveaway. And, and I tell people about it. It's like, well, come on down and, get a box of food. All you got to do is, bring your ID sign up. You get a box of food, and some people are like, oh, well, I give to other people, they need it more. I'm like, you need it too. Don't say you don't need it, because you need it too.
And there's a lot of seniors out there. They're on fixed incomes, and many of them have to pay for their own prescriptions, and those prescriptions are
expensive.
High. So they have to make a decision. Well, am I going to eat or am I going to pay for this medicine? Yeah. And they need both of them to survive. So
and we have a few seniors that come in every week, and we're getting some extra. And we had some that, I mean, you can go anywhere through the week to a food giveaway, but I always watch to see what the crowd is like, over at Christ in Richmond. And we do have seniors that come every week, and a lot of them have said the same thing. They're like, you got to pay for the expensive medicine. And then I was just looking at the Newsmaker the other day, and they was talking about what's going to be happening with the cost of insurance, and everybody's going to have insurance. You're talking about medicine and insurance. I mean, It's all very high for fixed income.
And see, some things are necessities. And even being able to move from place to place throughout the community, either if they have transportation, then they got to factor in gas for their cars, and that's constantly escalating. So I don't even know how they are managing, but I do know that all these places, from the food bank, Carystown, North Soup Kitchen, they are very much needed. I know all their resources that get taxed, and so any time that anybody can step up to the plate and help them, I know it's not being wasted.
Right.
When you look at the Salvation Army and First Presbyterian, they used to be over food service for New Path. So I know what it's like to budget and try to figure out how to feed the masses.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to do.
We get some of New Path guys up there at the church to volunteer on Fridays. And I don't know if it's like part of their program that said they have to get out and volunteer.
Community hours.
Yeah, community service or whatever. So they come up there and do that too, and they're just happy, because I guess maybe the food's not so great where they, whoever's cooking, maybe the food's not so great. But you hate to say that, but So now when you think of the people coming to see you guys, are you in the future, or do you have places that if people say, well, I need a service like right now, and it's a place like they need housing, do you think sometime in the future you guys going to get your own house, sort of like the Building Strong Women have the homes, you have homes that you can actually put people up for domestic violence or different things like that?
That's something that we are actually working on. We have been, since last year, we've been doing fundraisers, and it's a group in the city of Flint now. We meet every Thursday at the Messy and Mill office, and we are trying to do a domestic violence rally, which will be on July 13th, and it's men walking in her shoes. But between now and then, we'll constantly keep doing stuff until we got the message out there enough and raise enough money where we can do those. Because we've been spending an awful lot of funds trying to get grants, and if you are that's competitive. And so you could write the perfect grant and keep spending dollars, but that doesn't necessarily ensure you that you're going to get a grant.
Right.
Because it is competitive, and the ones that's been around for a long time, they'll get the grant dollars first. And then when you're looking at donors and people that give you money, they want to know, what are you doing to help your cause too? So doing fundraisers is very, very important. So in answer to your question, as we procure funds and keep doing, yes, we're going to get to those. And then we talked to a couple business owners that have extra properties, and they have been inquiring, like they're going to move out of state. How can they turn their properties into shelters or what have you? So we've been talking and working with some of them, and hopefully that'll come to pass as well. October is the domestic violence month, so we're working really hard to do some different things. At least add one additional spot for people to go to. Now
the men walking in shoes, they're gonna have high heels on. Is that the event?
That has been a major topic of discussion.
I think they should, because there is a national event like that, and they just did it recently. I think it was last year they did it, and I can't remember if it was like California or New York or somewhere, but the guys all had to wear high heels.
Okay.
And they did a walk, like, I don't know, 5K or whatever, but they pay so much to get in, and they all had to wear high heels. It was hilarious, because watching some of the guys with like size 12 feet and some pumps, and they had to wear pumps. They weren't just flats, So I thought that was hilarious, and it was something like that done here, I think, a while back, and it was another event, and I'm not sure. I don't know if it was a cancer event or what, but there was another event here, and every time I see that, I crack up, because I think that would be the most hilarious fundraiser, and a lot of people came out for it. That's what the good thing was. It was a good cause, and people came out in droves, and if you could get you've had an event like that, I'm pretty sure that you could get a lot of people to do it, and you just think it'd be hilarious.
Well, that's what we're working on, and we meet every Thursday at 6 o'clock at 1176 Robert T. Longway. So if it's anyone out there that wishes to get on board and help us with that, we'll be appreciative for them to come on. We plan on doing a actual parade as well as a walk and having vendors out there as well.
Can I get in the parade?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can have
I want to be on the float.
You can do a float with
Flaminpit on it.
Yes, a Flaminpit.
Flint Talk Radio, Flaminpit. You hear that, John? We got an invite.
And you sure do. So we're trying to get our pledge sheets together and all our information. We had sent letters out to some the larger corporations funded. So it's going to be an educational day, but also a fun day. And we want to do like a balloon release and a butterfly release, because butterflies, I've been told that it's a sign for domestic violence, that you transform. You've gone from one part. You are a lot of people think they're always a victim,
from a moth
but you're
to
not a
butterfly.
victim if you survive. So the survivors need to get up and tell their testimonies,
Right.
and that is so important, because a lot of people stay in those situations because they are afraid. So if they get over that fear factor, then they can go on
Right.
and do some things and maybe save their lives. And I know most families now have at least one person that they know of personally, or even in their own families, that are dealing with this situation, and it's not going away. I read about a month ago that the state of Michigan has the highest rate of domestic violence in all the states, and then the Genesee County has the highest rate of all the cities and counties in Michigan.
That's bad stats. We just getting hit all the way around. I mean, Flint, the murder capital. Now it's just all around. But I could see a parade or something like that for domestic violence. Have people buy floats and promote their businesses on the float.
Yes,
I think that would be hilarious. It would be good because I'll say you have a bunch of bakers get together and they build a float, and it's like a big cake or something, or you get the purple cars because purple is the color, and you can drive your purple cars down. I think it's all kind of wild ideas. You just started my mind rolling.
Well, we need all the publicity we can get. We need all the volunteers, and we just want to get it done. And our target date is July 13th. From probably noon to 4 in downtown Flint.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Now, have you merged with any other groups that deal with domestic violence?
I know a lot of people that work at the YWCA. In our last event, they came, and we kind of, go and support what they're doing. And of course, we want them to come support what we're doing.
Right.
And when you do that, it's strength in numbers.
Right.
I also met a young lady, and this is not her real name. It's Sandy Musk, and she's trying to get a new symbol. She created a symbol for domestic violence, and she is a survivor herself. And she wrote a book. It's called Stalked, and she has a documentary. So she's trying to really push as well. And we said we're going to help her. The person who violated her and left her for dead is in prison right now, but he's like kind of saying, when I get out, if I get out, he wants to finish what he started. And so she goes up under alias, but she has managed to marry and get a decent husband. And so she's struggling, and we want to help her.
Yeah, that has to be a mental thing that, every day you thinking him saying, well, when I get out, it's on.
But she said, nevertheless, she feels like God saved her from that situation for a reason, and therefore she decided she wanted to be an advocate for it. Recently, I had a family member that died in a house fire, and it stemmed from that as well. So now it's starting to, get closer to home myself.
Right.
And I said, we didn't know that was going on, but had we have known, then something could have happened.
Been done.
And sometimes we wait until it's too late. And then families that deal with this, it seems like to be like a generational curse. It goes from one decade to the next decade, and it needs to stop.
Well, and the other thing too is, like you said, if you don't know, then there's nothing you can do. And then by the time you find out, it's too late.
Yeah.
Because they could be going through it for years and years and putting on a front. Every time you see them, they lovey-dovey, all this stuff, and then you never know what's going on until it really comes out.
And see, when you're dealing with sexual violence or domestic violence, child abuse, and all those kind of things, it's not always a person physically putting their hands on you.
Right.
That encompasses also verbal abuse, economic abuse, just you trying to control that person's every whim.
The
mental abuse too. So there's counseling and talking to people that helps, so they can break free of all those bondages and go on.
Well, my thing is you just need to break free and stay gone.
Stay gone.
Because sometimes you'll get away, but then you get talked back. And then you never get out unless something happens.
And then when you get ready to move on to another relationship, you want to make sure that you are really healed and cured of whatever caused you to be drawn to that type of situation. Right. Because oftentimes people will leave one abusive situation and they'll attract the same kinds of people. So we got to learn how to choose better.
If that's all they know.
Yes.
It's like the bad boy. You know, I like bad boys, so I'm going to just get me a bad. You know, that's what they say. I like the bad boys. But then the bad boys cause you so much trouble. You better get a good guy. Oh, they be like, oh, the good guy, he too soft, he too sweet. And then the bad guy be the one that get you in the most trouble, beat you up, you know, damn near kill you. And then you be just... you know, the family, and it doesn't just affect you, it affects your family and friends and everything too. And then it's like, you know, do you say something? Because sometimes they be like, don't talk about my man. You know, I mean, it's a tricky situation. You don't know what to do. You know, you don't know what to do, what to say to help them until they actually want to get out and stay gone.
That's true.
So I just, it's one of those terrible things. It's another one of them things everybody got to work on. And
we have another program, and it's called the Affy Boot Camp. And it's a little character, and I brought a t-shirt from that. And it was, the character is created by Pauline Perkins. And it teaches positive affirmations.
Oh, because I saw this in here. I wondered what it was.
Yes.
The Affy Boot Camp, an after-school program.
And we have a bunch of educators that are retired that know firsthand the conditions of all our school systems. And while we see a rise in domestic violence, they're also seeing a rise of violence in the school systems and suicides and teen bullying.
Right.
So they came up with this character, and it's short. Affy is short for affirmations, and it's teaching youth and young adults how to take a negative situation and turn it around to a positive. You are not what people say you are or what you are labeled.
Right.
You can create your own world, so to speak, and you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And if you get in a situation that you're dealing with a bully, you can learn the skills and tools to turn that situation around. And so we're trying to develop programs and do some pilot things in some of the schools, maybe some of the charter schools, and measure the success before and after this program. And if we get it up and running and it works well, then we'll be going all over trying to do this.
Right.
And so that's another one of the programs. And I got Chuck Dodge working with me with that as well.
I met him at the event. He used to have a show here, didn't he, John?
Yeah, and I just ran into Chuck a couple weeks ago out there in Owasso.
Yeah, I met him for the first time at one of their events.
Yeah, about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, he did a show.
He used to have a show here. But you know, this is good because there are a lot of groups that I found, like the wrestling group that we deal with. They do bullying programs at the schools, and I've never gone to one of the events that they've done, but to know that the wrestlers can come in and talk to the kids, and they love the wrestling. They know them all by character, you know. So it sort of helps them understand. But the other thing is, it's hard for people. Sometimes it's hard for the kids to walk away. You know, I always say, I remember I had a 4th grade teacher that used to tell me, she says, it's easier to walk away than to just start a fight with somebody. And, you know, your first inclination is to, like, take them out. And that's where a lot of kids get in trouble, get expelled from school, kicked out of school 10 days, rest of the year, all this stuff, because they don't have that courage, I guess, or whatever, to walk away because they're afraid people are gonna call them sissies and I ain't no punk and
My opinion though, I got bullied some in school, and the teachers observed it and did nothing. So a lot of times the teachers partook in it. So I
agree with that.
Yeah, teachers did that, and they didn't do anything. I mean, I had a knife pulled on me in class one time, a knife held to my throat, and the teacher just sat there and watched. So I mean, the teachers to me are not the cure. They're not part of the cure. They're part of the problem. And besides, they can always use the excuse, maybe rightly so, they didn't have the training to deal with that. But usually I don't speak out during your show, Lisa, but bullying has become a hot topic, and
it really is.
It's happened for years though. I mean, I don't see how it's any different. Maybe because of the social media, they could start to harass you through Facebook and your Twitter account. But if I was a kid right now, I would really not forego those, not to even have that avenue open to these people I had to deal with. But I had teachers bullying me. So, I mean,
but
what do you go do in that instance,
It's been around for a long time, but it wasn't as put out there like it is because I was bullied when I was a kid, too. Having polio, I was called every name, gimp, kryptonite, limp, all this kind of stuff. And, you just dealt with it. Now with it being like people are committing suicide from it and this kind of stuff, it's really a big thing now.
Well, it really needs to be addressed because you see what happened at Columbine. Yeah. What was this last school where the guy came in and shot everybody up?
They did the Newtown and then there was one right after that.
Well, Newtown, that guy who did the killing, he drove quite a distance to get there because his mom he killed his mom. He drove up there just to do away with the people up there because she had taught there at one time. Yeah, he wasn't even a bullied there or anything. I don't know why he connected to that place.
Because his mother was connected to it. But then there was another shooting after that, and it's like kids don't just say I'm gonna get you. They want to come and take out a whole school or. They kill all their mother, fathers, this kind of stuff. It's really gotten crazy with bullying.
But see, when you really research it and get to the crux of the whole thing, it's something that stemmed from their childhood that was missing or some feeling that they hurt, that they acted out on and they harbored all this stuff and never was addressed and given the right opportunity. And some of them were very intelligent because they really had to think out how they're going to map this out and do this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God.
How they get all the guns, how they make the bombs. And then they, the parents never know it. They hide all the stuff in their room. So they are pretty smart to do it because I'd be scared to mess with stuff to create a bomb.
But you know what? I think with those instances you just illustrated, though, I think it's a lack of parenting. I mean, at some point, I'm an advocate. I think kids have rights and stuff. But a kid growing up in my house, my parents, they did it. They went into my room when I wasn't there and looked around.
I do.
And you know what? I don't see anything wrong with that because that kid is not your property, but you're responsible for everything he or she may do until they get to legal age. And you got to be aware of what's going on, and you can't just let them grow like weeds on their own. Yeah. And that's what. And I think that but then again, parents are so intimidated by the law. You do this and try to put some kind of discipline on your kids. They know they can use a trump card saying, "I'm going to go get protective services on you," and they or call the cops. And a lot of places, that's a real threat.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I ain't afraid of po-pos when it comes to my child. They going to have to take me out like this.
And see, some of these kids are not even being raised by their parents. They're being raised by grandparents. Some of the kids are influenced by drugs and alcohol. So those grandparents are afraid of them. So they know it's the right thing to do to chastise them and teach them right from wrong. But these kids have passed that. And they somehow, in their own thinking, think that they are in control of themselves, and they don't have to do what they don't want to do. If it is not comfortable for them, then they're not going to do it. So they're not thinking rational. Well, that is their rationale.
That's their rationale.
But that's not the rational behavior. That's not good moral behavior. There's no more respect. There's lack of communication. Oof. And again, this all stems from the home. And I know some people... they frown on it because everybody's free to choose what they believe in. But I grew up in a home that practiced a religion, and there was right and wrongs, and we had curfews, and we respected elders and seniors, and
females.
We could not talk to anybody. We couldn't dress a certain way. Right. We just had rules.
You had to come in when the street light was on. I see that a lot of that is missing because just the other day I was in my front yard spray in the grass, and this boy was talking on his cell phone so loud he was like a block away, and I could hear him cussing on the cell phone. And when he got about me, he didn't stop. And to me, as a kid, you don't swear in front of grown people, and you don't swear in front of females. So he was just cussing, and he kept looking back at me, and then he kept on, talking. And that just grinds me that they do that. They don't even think about it. It's just, would you want my son to come over and talk like that in front of your mother? They wouldn't even care. They probably talk like that in front of their mother. So, but this bullying thing, needs to stop, because every time, people are committing suicide, and you see it on Facebook, they're torturing them on Facebook, and I just don't know. It's hurtful. I just don't understand how people can just act like that and just push a person so far that they take their own lives for it. And then what kind of consequences do they get out of that? I mean, what happens?
I don't know. I just think that people's thinking and rationale has deteriorated so in our society, and we're at a point that if they don't step up and do something, they're just going to lose total control. And I just hate to see what it would be like. And I don't blame some of the parents that have decided to homeschool kids or just not even put them in that kind of environment, period. Because
I always said they're good kids until they get out in public.
Yeah.
My niece avoided a lot of problems, because for a portion of her college or schooling, she was homeschooled. And I mean, some people say they would lack socialization being homeschooled. That's not the case. You met my niece and stuff. I think
you meet people anywhere you go.
Yeah,
it's just a different environment, because I know other people that were homeschooled too, and it didn't affect them any kind of way. And I don't know why people say that. I wasn't homeschooled, but I had a lot of people at home schooling me.
Yeah, see, I'm not trying to. I really have issues with the way the public school, public education went, because I had issues when I was growing up.
Okay,
it's gotten worse. I mean, it's gotten far off. I mean, they don't teach anything basically. Because let's face it, teachers are allowed to have disciplinary procedures at their disposal. So I have problems with teachers, like I just alluded to. They were being the bullies in this several instances. But and it wasn't them trying to sort of control the classroom. They just didn't like to be challenged in the classroom by a simple question, and they'd start mocking me because I asked them a question they couldn't answer. And but I have problems with the education system, and they've never been addressed, because the teachers' union is a huge union. Everybody else with all these vested interests, you can't get to the crux of the issue. And I think at a large part, it's a systemic meltdown. There's lack of parenting skills. There's, let's face it, legal fallout for anything you may do. The legal ramification. They got to change that. That part they can change. Just say, hey, look, you within these parameters, you're allowed to do this. And teachers should have that. Say it's ironclad. Basically, you can do this. If you go beyond this, another thing is, if they want to have tapes, recordings in classrooms, so they can monitor what's going on, just randomly check, a recorder and this check in any given spot to see anything going on. That's fine. I mean, because let's face it, there's no expectation in the classroom for privacy, in my opinion. But there's a lot of things they can do to address this. That, that's the thing is, what a movement does, though, usually they'll go start for a while and everybody's concentrating that. Then something else shinier comes down the road and all the attention's turned away, and the problem still exists, but now there's perception that problem went away. And bullying is a problem. They should address it a long time ago. A long time ago. I'm not denigrating that, but they got to stay on target. They got to stay on target and address what's the cause of this bullying.
Yeah.
And see, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think the more groups that come on, and if they stay on one accord and keep saying the same message and don't waver, that it will accomplish what it needs to accomplish. Because it's time.
Yeah.
Anytime, oh my gosh, the month of April is like every day somebody got killed. It's not that they got wounded or hurt.
Right.
They're dead. We're having funerals, and the numbers are getting younger, younger and younger.
That's the bad thing about it, that it is young, so many young people. Because when I was looking at, reading the news, and it'd be like 18, 21, and I'm like, that's very young to not even have lived.
And see, some of our funeral home directors have gotten to the point where they don't even want to have the services for persons that have been in drug-related or gangs or bullying situations, because they come there and retaliate. They don't even respect the funeral home anymore.
Oh my goodness!
And it was this year as well.
Yeah, they did that. They did. I remember they did it at Moons, and then they did it. Then they do it at Serenity or one of those. They just come through the parking lot and just spray up some stuff.
And we actually had a person coming and getting shot and killed at a funeral.
Inside the church.
At the funeral.
Yeah.
And I just thought about that, like, wow, I mean,
that's
how
really
disrespectful
can
you be to the family and
even
to your
church,
family, to do something like that. But that's where our moral fiber is with these young people. And
I think they missed that eye for an eye thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's quite what it meant, But anyways, I want to thank you for coming in today, and I learned a lot more about the message in the meal than I knew before, and I'm glad, for the people that are listening, watching, and will watch later, that they will know that there is a place that they can come. They can come and get a meal. They can come and get your message.
Yes.
They can come for all the different programs you have, because I really didn't know you guys had that many programs behind it. See, I didn't know.
And we're constantly working on things to try to make a difference.
Right.
Not just say that it needs to be done or something needs to be addressed, but we're trying to come up with a concrete solution that's going to work.
So when somebody say, "Oh, I need this," I got it. Mm-hmm. I want this, I got it. That's what I'm talking about, because there's so many people that need things and don't know where to go. That's the bad thing, because I found dealing with CMH and places like that if you don't know, they don't tell you.
No.
You have to do a lot of research yourself, and then they be like, "Oh yeah, I knew about that." Well,
the worst thing is for you to know that you need help and you don't have a clue where to get it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's how the problem never gets solved, because you don't know who to ask, where to go. Well, with me, I just started running my mouth. I just started talking about it. And eventually somebody be like, "Oh yeah, I know about this. I know about that." Where other people might be like, "Well, gee, I don't know what to do." And then they leave it at that. So, I don't know if my big mouth get me in trouble. But I know a lot of things I had to find out with my son's being special need. I had to find out a lot of stuff on my own, because CMH did not help me.
Okay.
And, like right now, trying to get him a job and all this kind of stuff, it took them, I had to just keep badgering them till they finally assigned him a counselor that is actually working with him weekly.
And it shouldn't be like that.
Right. Why am I doing all this when it's your program that's supposed to be helping people with special needs? I'm supposed to put him in there, and you're supposed to help him do what he needs to do. And I don't mind helping out, but why am I doing all the legwork? I'm doing all the calling. I'm giving you suggestions. That's not what I'm getting paid for. I'm not even getting paid. And so they don't, like I said, people, if you don't know, a lot of people won't tell you. But it'll be good to know that you have other programs, because that was news to me. I thought you just fed people. I didn't know you counseled them too. If you have people that maybe need clothes, you can tell them where to go.
Yes.
Now they might go to Carriagetown, but then maybe somewhere down the line you guys get a big enough building, you might start giving away clothes, have a clothing drive and have a clothes giveaway, then have food giveaway. Who knows? It could just blow up. People just have to come on board, get your volunteers together.
Yes. And we're not going to turn any volunteers down either.
Yeah. Because I volunteer everywhere all the time. But anyways, I want to thank you for coming on. We're going to wrap the show up today. So if you have an email, a phone number, or anything, like any contact information you want to give out, you can do that now, so people know how to reach you if they want to.
Again, I am Karen Adams from Message and a Meal, and you can reach us at our website at messageandameal.org. You can email us at messageandameal@aol.com, and you can phone us at 810-308-3230.
And John will have all this kind of info listed for a tag when we post the show on YouTube and Facebook. So you'll have different ways of getting in contact with Karen if you need the help. But don't be shy about needing the help. If you need the help, really get in contact with them, because that's what they're there for. So I want to thank you for coming in.
And thank you for having me.
And you're so welcome. Next week, my guest will be Danielle Ward. So I want everybody to tune in, because this young lady just wrote this book about a dating guide. So I was reading it last night, and it's a lot of common sense things. But a lot of people, when they get into romances, they don't have common sense anymore. So everybody tune in next week, same time, same place. It's Flaminpit, and we're out.